This is Liberty Block, semi-live from Nevermind Where, USA. Liberty is always top dog here. God bless our troops. Follow or subscribe if you never want to miss a beat. Drop a comment if you have something to say. Like and comment, hell yeah, if you're a blockhead. And of course, sharing is always caring. So, America's 250th birthday is literally right around the corner. In less than 2 months, the eyes of the world will be on Washington, D.C. But if you've walked a little bit in the National Mall, you know the truth. America's front yard had been neglected. The iconic Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool, it was leaking like a sieve. Algae blooms were taking over, and the tidal basin seawalls were crumbling under decades of federal neglect. Now, a massive and historic restoration project is underway to clean up the mall and secure the monuments for the next 100 years. But when you turn on the mainstream media news outlets, endless whining for the leftist mob who treat this infrastructure facelift like a national crisis. Let's start with the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. The administration has launched a $13.1 million emergency project to seal that leaking granite. To protect the integrity of the structure, long term they're applying an industrial-grade waterproof membrane in American flag blue. Is that bright blue pool a bit intense for a historic monument? Yeah, I think so. I'd argue a darker Old Glory blue would be a better choice. It would look more mirrored at finish. It would look a lot less like a country club pool at the end. But with the left, normal conversation about design is absolutely impossible. They've gone into full meltdown. The Cultural Landscape Foundation filed a federal lawsuit to freeze the project mid-paint, claiming it defaces the landmark. That makes sense. Activists on the left are treating that vital waterproof sealant as a crime against humanity. Even the color, if it were changed, would not stop the protesting. They'd still protest. You know this. It's a pattern, a reaction to Trump, and nothing more. You know this. Don't fall for it. Here's the reality. Before this project, the pool was murky. It was a stagnant mess filled with goose droppings and trash. Managing this decline is not feasible before July the 4th, the 250th birthday of our nation. The critics seem perfectly content with allowing the National Mall to rot so long as it rots in a politically correct achromatic gray. Then there's the most controversial piece of the puzzle, a proposed 250-foot Washington Triumphal Arch near the Arlington Memorial Bridge. Let me be fair. The design, modeled after a European arch with a massive gold-leafed Angel of Liberty on top, is loud. It's got that signature gilded Trump-style aesthetic that I'm not really fond of. And it's perfectly fair to take a look at that and say, hey, maybe a tacky French-looking arch isn't the right fit for America's classic capital. But the Democrats in Congress, reasonable is not their strong point. They're responding like a bunch of juvenile delinquents, led by a Representative Jared Huffman. They aren't just offering design critique. They're filing lawsuits and amicus briefs to shut the entire project down. Activist groups are holding multi-day vigils on the National Mall, acting as if celebrating a 250-year American independence monument is an existential threat to democracy. which is what they ought to say. Funny thing is, we don't live in a democracy. We live in a republic. The left's opposition isn't actually about height or gold leaf. It's about total resistance to the idea of American renewal and anything Trump. Mark my words. They're weaponizing the Commemorative Works Act and environmental laws because they cannot stand the idea of a bold, unapologetic celebration of American exceptionalism, especially one taking shape on federal land and by Trump's design. What the media and the leftist critics completely ignore is the vast majority of this restoration effort is a massive victory for our national heritage. While activists whine about colors, the National Park Service has been quietly fixing these structural foundations of a tidal basin and freeing the Jefferson Memorial from decades of construction scaffolding. Over the Memorial Day weekend, cabinet officials like the oft-maligned Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth were out in the pouring rain, hands-on, scrubbing the grime off the Vietnam Veterans Memorial alongside volunteers. Isn't this about service? Honoring our past and honoring our vets by cleaning up the decay? But the left is so blinded by partisan and Trump opposition that they are willing to legally block infrastructure improvements just to score some cheap political points for their base. The Capitol needs the cleanup. It's long overdue. We can disagree about whether the arch is a bit too European or the reflecting pool is too much of a light blue, but we should all agree that letting our national monuments crumble is absolutely unacceptable. Let's tune out the activist lawsuits, ignore the leftist whining, and finish the job so that America can celebrate its 250th anniversary in style. This is Liberty Block, and I yield back the balance of my time. God bless everyone.